Bonjour. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. C'est un grand plaisir de vous accueillir aujourd'hui chez Nova Bus tout un honneur pour tout particulier de recevoir le Premier ministre du Canada dans notre usine. Chez Nova Bus, nous concevons et fabriquons des solutions de transport collectif durables et écologiques, ici même au Canada. Et ce, grâce à l'innovation et au savoir-faire et à l'engagement exceptionnel de nos équipes. Monsieur le Premier ministre, merci de prendre le temps de rencontrer nos employés et de découvrir la passion qui nous anime. Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to welcome you at Nova Bus today. It's a special honor to welcome the Prime Minister of Canada to our plant. At Nova Bus, we are designing and building reliable and sustainable transit solution right here in Canada, all thanks to the innovation and the talent of our people and our exceptional team. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for taking the time to meet our people and see firsthand the passion and craftsmanship that drives us. Please join me in welcoming the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Mark Carney. Je vous invite à accueillir chaleureusement le Premier ministre du Canada, le très honorable Mark Carney.
Merci. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. Et merci, Paul. Merci à Nova Bus de nous accueillir aujourd'hui et de m'avoir donné cette opportunité de témoigner de tout ce qui est accompli ici par leurs employés. Ce sont des bâtisseurs qualifiés, travailleurs et novateurs. Bien, des novateurs. C'est ce dont nous avons besoin en ce moment, alors que nous faisons face à une crise sans précédent. Mais nous allons nous en sortir. Et les travailleurs, comme ceux ici aujourd'hui, vont bâtir des fondations d'une économie renouvelée. Depuis des mois, nous essayons des attaques répétées de la part des États-Unis. Ils s'attaquent à nos aciéries, nos alumineries, nos industries automobiles et forestières. Le président Trump s'attaque aux travailleurs canadiens comme ceux ici chez Nova Bus. Il s'attaque aux entreprises canadiennes. Il s'attaque même à notre existence en tant que pays libre, distinct et souverain. Il s'attaque à notre identité, à notre façon d'être. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the international trading system. In the process, he's rupturing the global economy. And that 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services and ideas, is over. There is no going back. We, in Canada, we will have to build a new relationship with the United States. And Canada can help design the global trading system with like-minded countries. Nous ne pouvons pas contrôler le président Trump, mais nous pouvons contrôler notre destin économique. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. As a country, we can choose how we respond. And we are responding with purpose and with overwhelming force. We will fight, we will protect, and we will build. Nous allons nous battre contre ces tarifs injustifiés jusqu'à qu'ils soient annulés, avec des contre-tarifs qui auront un impact maximal aux États-Unis et un impact minimal ici au Canada. Nous allons protéger nos travailleurs, nos entreprises pendant cette période difficile. Nous avons déjà mis en place plusieurs mesures pour le faire. Nous avons facilité l'accès à l'assurance emploi pour nos travailleurs, Pour les entreprises, nous avons reporté les paiements d'impôts sur leurs revenus ainsi que les versements de la TPS et de la TVH. Nous avons mis en place de nouvelles mesures pour leur fournir des liquidités, une aide financière importante qui les aideront à braver cette tempête. Par-dessous tout, nous allons bâtir une économie canadienne plus forte que jamais. Bâtir un Canada fort. Now, as a country, we could choose to continue down the unsustainable road that we've been on. Or, as others would prefer, we could choose to slash our social programs, the programs that support Canadians, including childcare, dental care, and pharmacare. We could stop all our international partnerships. We could erase our most important cultural institutions like CBC, Radio Canada. I reject both of those paths. Instead, my government will adopt an entirely new fiscal approach, one that is laser-focused on creating good, high-paying jobs, such as the jobs here at Nova Bus. One that's laser-focused on generating economic growth and building wealth that is shared by all, while continuing to protect the vulnerable in our society, with investments in what we need to build a new, resilient economy in face of this economic crisis caused by President Trump. A new approach that invests in our future. In short, our approach to fiscal discipline will mean that the federal government will spend less so that Canadians can invest more. We will catalyze an era of investment and growth in Canada that we have never seen before. And it will not just get our economy back on track. It will do much more. It will build the strongest economy in the G7. Nous allons bâtir une économie canadienne renouvelée. Nous allons dépenser moins pour que le Canada puisse investir plus. Nous allons bâtir une seule économie canadienne, pas 13. Nous allons bâtir des projets d'intérêt national et bâtir les plus rapidement que jamais auparavant. Nous allons nous battre pour défendre la gestion de l'offre et tous nos secteurs agricoles. Nous allons nous battre pour ce qui nous rassemble, comme Radio-Can, CBC. Et nous allons appuyer les bâtisseurs d'aujourd'hui, comme ceux ici, chez Nova Bus. Nous allons bâtir la main-d'œuvre canadienne du futur, une main-d'œuvre forte pour un Canada fort. One of our country's many competitive advantages is how well-trained and well-educated Canadian workers are. In the economy, like in hockey, to win, even with advantages, you have to press those advantages, particularly in the third period and overtime. On verra demain soir. That's exactly, on espère, that's exactly what we're going to do. La formation est non seulement inutile, qui nous permettra de renouveler notre économie, elle ouvre aussi des portes pour nos travailleurs. Recently, about 10 days ago, I announced that a new Liberal government will cover the costs of apprenticeships, including training for Canada's skilled workers in the trades. I announced that we will invest in the entire pipeline of talent, from the workers themselves, through to the labor unions, such as Unifor here, through to post-secondary institutions, employers, and the provinces. I announced that we will work with the provinces to ensure that our newly trained workers are mobile, agile, that they can go anywhere across this country where they're needed and immediately work. We announced that we will pay the costs of apprenticeships by creating an apprenticeship grant of up to $8,000 for registered apprentices. But in order to make the most of the new economy, that learning must continue throughout people's lifetimes, throughout their careers. And so today I'm announcing that my government will launch a new sector-specific mid-career training and upskilling benefit in priority sectors: manufacturing, construction, tech, and artificial intelligence. This approach will support Canadians in the middle of their careers who need access to skills training within established areas of critical need for our economy. We will support those employers in order to support retention and upskilling within their companies. People grow within their companies. The benefit will provide up to $15,000 per Canadian for training. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que pour les formations liées au secteur comme l'industrie manufacturière, la santé, la construction et l'intelligence artificielle, nous allons assumer les coûts de formation en cours de carrière jusqu'à $15,000 par personne. J'ai passé ma vie à gérer des crises. J'ai fait ma part pour aider le Canada à éviter le pire de la crise économique de 2008. J'ai guidé l'économie du Royaume-Uni à travers le chaos engendré par le Brexit. Et je sais qu'il faut, pour non seulement braver la tempête, mais en ressortir avec un plus fort que jamais. Pour y arriver, il nous faut bâtir d'une main-d'œuvre plus forte que jamais. C'est ce que nous allons faire ensemble. Our approach to this crisis, our approach to this new economy, is that we are all in this together. Because when we're united, we build Canada strong. Pierre Poilievre is about everyone for themselves. He's all about cuts. Cuts to dental care, cuts to child care, cuts to pharmacare, cuts to foreign aid, cuts to our most valued institutions. Cuts to the investment that builds more homes, new energy and new trade routes. I know from long experience that we have to build our way out of a crisis. Ensemble, nous allons bâtir des logements. Nous allons bâtir une superpuissance énergétique. Nous allons bâtir le leadership canadien en intelligence artificielle. Nous allons bâtir de nouveaux corridors commerciaux. Nous allons bâtir une seule économie canadienne, pas 13. Nous allons bâtir de la prospérité, bâtir des opportunités. Nous allons bâtir l'économie la plus forte du G7 avec la meilleure main-d'œuvre au monde. Nous allons bâtir un Canada fort. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant prendre une quinzaine de minutes de questions de la délégation, ensuite des médias locaux. First questions to the delegation and then local media. First question, Karina.
Hi, Karina Roman, CBC News. I know there's a lot of details in flux right now about the Honda story, but in light of the worries and concerns that such a story raises, have you spoken with any automaker CEOs? If not, why not? And we know your finance minister is announcing new measures today to deal with this kind of thing, with remissions and a framework for that, a 6-month reprieve in terms of imported goods used in manufacturing. Are measures like that enough to keep production here?
Thank you for your question. First to say, this gives us a sense of the scale of the attack on our auto sector and our other sectors. But I will speak, Trina, since you went directly to auto, I'll speak directly to auto. And one other word of context, which is the North American automobile sector is the most integrated industrial manufacturing sector in the world, particularly the Canadian-US auto sector. And so President Trump's tariffs are an attempt in some degree to pull apart that integration and the benefits that come from that integration, benefits to the United States, benefits to Canada, benefits to Mexico. And we are seeing some of the impacts in the short term of that with layoffs for some of our automakers, potential shifts in production if this situation remains. Huge increase in costs ultimately to American consumers, obviously to Canadian consumers. Our focus is on jobs and growth here in Canada. It's misguided, it's not going to work, and we're already seeing some of the changes to the approach. For example, the floating of the Americans, following the Canadian example, I would add, of exempting auto parts from the tariffs. They say temporarily. I think in the end that will be permanent, quite frankly. Now, have I spoken to? Yes, this is a short answer. I have had a number of conversations with the CEOs of automakers, not just the CEOs in Canada, but the global CEOs of the automakers, as have my colleagues, other ministers, including the Minister of Finance, but not limited to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Industry would be another example. So we are very seized with the issues. We're on top of the issues. It is one of the reasons, and we have done several things in terms of support, both in terms of financing support, liquidity support, the strategic fund that we announced 2 weeks ago in Windsor, the $2 billion fund to build out Canadian supply chain is part of the response. The core element, though, is going to be what is negotiated between Canada and the United States, between the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of the United States, when those negotiations begin in 2 weeks. And the core question is who's going to be at the table for Canada. I'm running hard so that I can be at the table for Canada to win for Canadian workers.
Going in French? No. Okay. My second question is, advanced polls open this weekend so that Canadians can make an informed choice, an informed decision. Can you commit to putting out your full costed platform before the polls open this weekend?
We will have a full costed platform in great detail, and I very much look forward to the discussions around those and your questions and engaging with Canadians. That will come out before the advance polls close, absolutely. And I'll say something as well. We have, on a regular basis, released very detailed policy proposals, not slogans, but detailed policy proposals, including the amounts, for example, the amounts on the apprenticeship grants, the amounts on these grants, the costing around those, the detail in and around how we're going to attack. We've also given the approach on our fiscal. So when you see our platform come together, when you see it as a whole, you will see, and Canadians will see, how our economic strategy is all interlinked. So it's not just about, and it very importantly is about supporting a new Made in Canada auto strategy, but it's working up the chain to supporting the critical metals and minerals industry. And it's very much about investing in our workers so that they have the skills for that new auto industry. And it's providing the financing so that they can build out. And it's diversifying our trading partners in order to be there. Tout est connecté. Et on va bâtir une économie canadienne forte. D'accord. Merci. Sur le timing, on va dévoiler notre plateforme chiffrée avant la clôture des pauses avancées. Les pauses avancées commencent ce week-end et terminent, je crois, lundi. D'accord.
Merci. Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. Dans le cas de Honda, à quel point êtes-vous inquiet et quel signal ça envoie sur le climat d'investissement au Canada et au Québec?
Oh, je suis inquiet. Je suis déjà inquiet. L'incertitude qui a été créée, qui est créée par la guerre tarifaire américaine, c'est bien difficile pour les entreprises comme Nova Bus, même Nova Bus. Il y a des défis avec des changements et des changements des politiques américaines, environnementales, y compris la guerre tarifaire. OK, je suis déjà inquiet. Première chose. Deuxièmement, tous les investisseurs et toutes les entreprises, presque toutes les entreprises à travers le monde sont inquiets. Et le ralentissement de l'économie américaine, par conséquent, commence. Les Américains affaiblis, OK? Ça commence. C'est très dur pour l'économie américaine, c'est difficile pour l'économie canadienne même et pour les autres économies à travers le monde. Et alors, dans ces circonstances, il faut agir. Il faut agir avec la force et de la détermination, y compris le financement, bien sûr, le soutien pour les travailleurs, les investissements dans notre économie propre, notre économie domestique. Et ça, c'est le plan de mon gouvernement. Okay. Pas nécessaire.
Question suivie.
Avec ce que est en train d'étudier Honda et d'autres manufacturiers par ailleurs,
Ouais.
est-ce une indication que les contre-tarifs canadiens peuvent être nuisibles au Canada? Et est-ce qu'il y a une façon de les atténuer? Est-ce que votre pensée à propos des contre-tarifs a évolué avec la situation actuelle?
Non, en ce qui concerne les contre-tarifs et l'annonce ce matin le ministre des Finances, par exemple, et je crois que l'annonce va être presque en même temps que cette annonce, nous avons une approche de rémission. Et l'approche de rémission, de la remise, en effet, c'est très... c'est bien appliqué, si je peux dire. Okay? Parce que si on garde les investissements ici, si on continue la production ici au Canada, les entreprises vont recevoir 100% de rémission des contre-tarifs canadiens. Alors, les incentives sont très, très forts de garder la production et les emplois ici. Mais, cela dit, M. Trump, il attaque notre industrie automobile. Ça, c'est la vérité. La situation est très, très difficile. Alors, nos contre-tarifs auront un impact maximal aux États-Unis avec les entreprises américaines qui ne gardent pas ou ne gardent plus leur investissement, leur production ici au Canada.
Avec Honda, là, ça ne semble pas fonctionner avec Honda.
Oui, et si je sais parce que c'est une situation difficile, mais c'est une guerre. Hein? Il fait des attaques. Et on peut protéger nos travailleurs, et on le fait. On peut renforcer les incentives d'investir, de garder la production ici au Canada. Mais on ne peut pas faire des garanties. Hein. Il faut avoir un nouvel accord avec les Américains. Et c'est encore, ça c'est vachement, c'est fondamental. Hein. C'est fondamental. Il faut avoir cet accord global avec les Américains. Et les négociations vont être très, très importantes. Okay. Monsieur Ling. Which part? Pas la plupart. On peut pas faire la traduction en entier.
Yeah.
What I said is that we have designed our emissions framework for the automobile sector in a smart way. It provides very large incentives for companies that have production here who sell into Canada. They will get 100% and maintain that production and investments in Canada. They will get 100% remission on our counter tariffs. So in other words, our counter tariffs won't apply if they continue to produce, continue to employ, continue to invest in Canada. If they don't, they will get 25% tariffs on what they are importing into Canada. Okay, so the incentives are there. But to be clear, the U.S., President Trump's tariffs are attacking our auto industry. And, well, we can protect our workers, and we will, and we've taken steps. Well, we can provide incentives for the production to maintain here, which we have, and the announcement of the remission order today will show that clearly. Well, we can provide funds, which we will do if we are elected, for strategic adjustment in the industry. it's a war, and we can't provide guarantees for every situation. And that just underscores how important it is, the negotiation with the U.S. president, and who is going to be across the table for that, for a global approach. Who knows how to get the deal that will build out for our auto industry and other industries in Canada. Thank you.
Next question.
Sorry.
Mr. Carney, Mike Lucouture with CTV News. You spoke earlier about some concern that you have. But
Could you just come a little closer?
Sure.
Sorry.
You spoke, I mean, I'll come right up if I'm kidding.
I'm not afraid of the press. You can come as close as you want. I just want to hear you.
No comment.
Yeah.
You spoke earlier about your concern and worry, but you also spoke about conversations you had with the CEOs of major automotive companies. What are you hearing from them, and is that why you're concerned?
Well, what I'm hearing from them, if I were to summarize it, is that the industry is incredibly integrated, that this is an industry, the auto industry, that has margins in the single digit. So in other words, profit margins in the single digits. And when you raise the costs by 25%, guess what? You know, anyone can do the math. You erase the profitability of the activity. And so they're very concerned. They don't think that the administration is taking into account how integrated the industry is and the consequences. And they start, since these tariffs obviously are coming from America, they start with the impact this is going to have on the costs for American consumers of these cars. What they have been saying is beginning to play out. You're beginning to see the impacts, and now you're seeing the American administration start to react. You see the reaction on auto parts, or the potential reaction on auto parts. So they know their business very well. Their point is clear. They want to maintain their activities in Canada, and we're working with them so that it maximizes the chances that they will do so. But we all know, and when I say we, I say in this case, the auto CEOs, the auto companies themselves, the unions, the Canadian unions that support the workers, and my government, the government of Canada, know that this is one of the crown jewels of North American manufacturing, and that if we are going to be competitive against China and other foreign competitors, we need to work together, and so we need to come together on an agreement to that. So when we sit down, we're going to be armed with even more information to make that point more tangible. Sorry, back to you.
I just want to turn to another subject for the follow-up. By your own admission, you said that your French is about a 6 out of 10. Given the stakes of tomorrow's French language leaders debate, how nervous are you?
I look forward to the debate. You know, there are many, these announcements, our platform, your questions, the media's questions as a whole, the debates, interviews, they're all part of the process. Online information, our website, visit our website, etc. It's all part of the process of making sure that Canadians are well informed to make a choice in the most important election of our times. Look, I work on my French every day. I improve, but I think I improve. On verra. C'est pas pour moi d'être le juge, these debates are important, but they're part of a bigger communication with Canadians in this crucial election. And I'm pleased. Let's say one other thing, if I may, which is, I think my sense is that Canadians are more engaged in this election than they have been in for decades. You see it, there's a variety of ways that that's clear. And I think it's very heartening. I mean, regardless of who they end up voting for and supporting, Canadians recognize how important this choice is, which is why, and I personally recognize it, which is why I'm standing before you and putting myself forward to help solve this crisis and build an economy that works for everyone. We have a tremendous positive opportunity here, and that is clearly the choice that we're offering. Thank you.
Well,
En ce qui concerne les débats, je sais, les débats, c'est une des aspects de ce processus de campagne électorale, des questions des journalistes, des annonces, des plateformes chiffrées, des rassemblements, des messages sur les médias sociaux. Ils sont toutes les manières dont les Canadiens peuvent apprendre les positions des partis et font leurs décisions dans une élection la plus importante de nos vies, selon moi. OK? Ça
We'll
marche?
do one last question from the delegation before local media. Dernière question à la délégation. Catherine.
Hi, this is Catherine with the Canadian Press. Your previously announced supports for Canadian workers have received criticism from both Labour leaders who say they're not enough and from financial experts who say your plan will only worsen Canada's deficit. I'm just wondering if you can share, how do you plan to support Canadian workers as the trade war continues without blowing the budget?
So a couple of things. One is that the support for Canadian workers, there are several aspects to our support for Canadian workers. The first is these changes to employment insurance in ways that make it more immediate, more generous, and that I think those are clear. Secondly, there's support directly to industry to make sure that industry is still functioning. I mean, it's better that people are kept in work, and so it's the fact that we are providing 40 billion plus of support through the tax system, through finance system to industry that needs it to help. That's not insignificant. I think sometimes people discount that aspect. The third aspect is supporting workers, though, is helping them train, and which is part of what today's announcement is about. That's what the apprenticeship's about. That's what this formation mid-career is about. And, you know, our economy is going to go through some big changes. And we can go through this process in two ways. One, we can cut our way, which is what Pierre Poilievre wants to do. Think of how he's going to finance. How's he going to finance his big tax cut? He's going to get rid of the CBC. He's going to get rid of foreign aid. He's going to get rid of dental care. He's going to get rid of child care. See what else he's going to get rid of. Okay, he's going to get rid of all those aspects. And then think that 1,000 flowers are going to bloom. Well, that's not the way things work in a crisis. You have to act. You have to catalyze. You have to build investment. So we're going to renew our economy, and knowing that that's what's going to happen, is we're going to help workers get the skills for those new industries and jobs that are going to develop. So we have a very, all whilst protecting, in fact, building that social safety net that we believe in. And so they're very, very different approaches. Now you'll see, you will see our detailed platform. It'll come out in a few days, as I said a moment ago. Look, I've been through all the numbers. I know all the numbers. I know how to count. We'll be in a very good position, spending less, but also investing more as a country to build this economy strong. Thank you.
And as well, how will you replace the emissions cuts lost by ending the carbon price? And why have you not released any climate policy since the start of this campaign?
Well, I wish you were with us in Victoria because we did release a very detailed nature strategy. I'll make sure that you're provided with it. And it's, you know, the most ambitious nature strategy I think that the government, any government in Canada has done. That's the first thing. The second is that if you look at the emissions reductions that come from the consumer carbon tax alone, it's about 6%, of the overall emissions reduction. So it's something, but it's not very much. And so the vast majority of emission reduction work is being done by the large emitters, the large polluters. And what we've done there is tightening the carbon market, creating a new system where they are paying for emission reductions of households, so a positive incentive there, reinforcing investment tax credit and other element approaches to drive that clean energy investment. Remember, 80% of final emission reduction comes from final demand for energy, so it matters what happens in the energy system. We're driving that. Last point, we're looking to double the home building, but we're looking to double home building in a way that those new homes are emitting 20% less in the construction of those homes, and those new homes are much more climate efficient when they're built. So you can say that's not a climate plan because it's a home building plan, it's a plan for affordability. Both of those things are true. It's a plan that's targeted at younger Canadians, but it's a plan that's building an entire Canadian industry that is far more climate efficient. And this is what, I can't stress this enough, it's not just in a crisis, but in general, in economic, to build a strong economy, you have to understand the interconnections in an economy and the interconnections between what you're doing. So, last point, just to belabor this point, if I may, that's why we have the most ambitious worker training program as well, because we know if we're going to step change in building homes, building new manufacturing in this economy, we need more skilled workers. And they need to be able to get the training that they need right now. And that's what we're delivering. Thank you very much.
We'll now go over to local media. 5 minutes de questions pour les médias locaux.
Madame.
Merci.
Bonjour, M.
Ariane.
Carney. Ariane Kroll de la presse. Pour votre premier débat politique en français,
Oui.
les autres chefs vous attendent.
Ah oui?
Vous vous préparez à jouer principalement à l'attaque ou à la défensive?
À la transparence, madame. Et ce n'est pas le premier débat politique. J'ai fait deux pendant la chefferie, alors. Mais.
Votre...
En ce qui concerne, non, ce n'est pas une question pour moi, ce n'est pas une question de l'attaque ou la défense, non. C'est plus d'une question, je veux avoir une session d'informer les Canadiens qui suivent le débat, pas le match des Canadiens. OK? Il faut avoir la transparence.
Prochaine question. Next question. Oh,
Madame.
in English on the debate.
I said I'm going to concentrate on neither attack nor defense, but I will focus on transparency to inform those Canadians who choose to watch the debate instead of the Habs game, and we'll leave it to the Habs to decide the right combination of attack and defense over the course of the grand match. Okay, merci, Madame.
Mr. Carney, Michelle Lalonde from the Montreal Gazette. We're hearing that a lot of progressive voters on the in the Montreal region are considering voting for you, partly because you're an economist, you understand the economy at this crucial time, but also because you seem to take the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis seriously. So we have the last large valuable ecosystem just north of the Trudeau Airport that there's been a movement in the region to have that conserved, possibly as a national urban park. I know you announced once again that you will create 50 new national urban parks, but that's an old promise. So in this region, what people are looking for is whether you are considering or whether you will commit to making those 230 hectares a national urban park just north of since it's federal lands.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for the question. It's a very important question. First off, it's not an old promise if I make it. Okay, it's a promise. It is a new promise, and it's different. I'm new. Secondly, it's one of the areas under consideration. We'll drive a quick public process to make those determinations. And I'm glad you raise it because, this commitment on 15 national urban parks is part of, as you referenced, a much bigger commitment on nature and biodiversity that will help drive us towards what was a commitment made in this broader city, in Montreal, for 30% preservation by 2030. Progress has been made, more needs to be done. That will include national parks as well as urban parks. Thank you.
Dernière question, last question. Merci.
Good morning, Mr. Carney. Justin Ling, freelance. I'm hoping to ask you about the F-35 process. You've announced a review of purchasing this jet, but the review hasn't even begun yet, according to the Department of National Defense. At what point are you concerned that this review or an ultimate cancellation of the deal could impact our ability to fly jets, to defend our airspace, and to participate in foreign missions? And just as a second double barrel here, do you have any reason to be concerned that there is what some have called a kill switch in the F-35 or control held by the Americans that could jeopardize our ability to fly these planes if this trade war worsens?
Well, on the second question, it would be exceptionally ill-advised if such a thing did exist by our allies. So I'll start from a position of not expecting that to be the case, but also in full confidence in our Canadian Armed Forces in fulfilling their core responsibilities of protecting Canadians and protecting Canadians in all eventualities. And that is our mindset as a government. In a crisis, you don't hope for the best, you prepare for the worst, and you think, and scenario planning in terms of national defense and security has become much more expansive, if I can put it that way. Part of the reason why we're reinforcing the Arctic. Let me go to your first part of your question on the F-35, Mr. Ling. As you know, we're taking delivery of a number of F-35s already under the existing contract. So what we're reviewing, in effect, is the back end of the contract to ensure that we're getting value for money, that we're sure that we're maximizing not just our ability to protect Canada, but the economic benefits here in Canada. And we are considering in context of alternatives. I'd say that, the instruction for the review, which was literally given, I'm going to round it up to 3 weeks ago, I think. It's not more than that. I've only been Prime Minister for a month. That instruction, will be carried out. We're in caretaker mode as government. Our expectation of the civil service is that they are proceeding on these fronts. We'll do it as rapidly as possible as necessary, but we will do it, last point, in parallel with some very significant other investments in defense. And having said that's the last point, I'm just going to refer back, I apologize, to the new approach we're taking to defense procurement, which we outlined the broad elements yesterday.
So you still might buy the jets, but not.
Oh, it's a review is a review. A review is a review. But we're going to proceed in the best interest of Canada, first and foremost in our security, but then in the broader economic benefits of this country. When you're spending that kind of money, and we will do it in a way that proceeds rapidly, so that all those objectives are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci, c'est ce qui m'a fait à notre presse-conférence, c'est ce qui m'a fait à la conférence de presse. Merci.